All right, I think we're on.
Check, check.
So,
check.
Let's ramble.
Bebop.
I'm so excited.
Like I said, we're gonna get some Dual Ramble music.
I was saying that I wanted to take a screenshot of your YouTube background and put it as my own.
Oh, there you
I
go.
thought that would be genius, but then I
That would
saw
be-
in the
Yeah, that
I
would
saw
be
in the
very meta.
settings I saw in the settings that it was going to take up too much system hardware, so I just put that one in the back burner.
Yeah, I minimally know how all this works. But yeah. But man, good to have you on. Thank you for being here.
I've honestly imagined doing this for a long time. I think I started following you in 2020, and I think you started doing these types of things around that time. At least I clued into it, and then I watch them pretty often. I like the 20-minute ones.
The rambles. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Here, we're gonna look around your website, and for the audio audience, we will use the powers of articulation. Let's see. If I can find it. There we go. Okay. Boom. All right.
Nice.
Cool. Well, yeah, I recognize the name, but we'll dig in here.
Well, I think I picked up on your work when I noticed you were basically doing baseball related art, and I got really into baseball in 2020. So that's I just thought it was really cool to follow somebody who is also similarly making baseball art, although I haven't made too much of it since then.
Yeah. What was it for you? Like, because there was a reason I started.
Well, I really just got into the sport in 2020 officially, although I was raised up around it. I think I just wasn't into it as a kid, you know. It's my parents' favorite thing, and it just took me a long time for it to click for me. But when it did, I gained an absolute appreciation for every aspect of it. Although I don't buy baseball cards like you do.
Yeah. Well, for me, like back then, around that time, it was, the pandemic, and suddenly I didn't know how it was going to work. So baseball, it had been there wasn't baseball at that moment, and that was kind of sad.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know, it kind of became. I started with these metaphorical pieces about how I felt, and then I just got into it, and it opened all types of weird portals. but that's cool.
Well, I sort of see it in a continuum with your portrait work, and definitely with your work around wrestlers. You know, it's like you're building up your own little mythologies for these people,
Yeah.
or you're putting your interpretation on mythologizing them.
Well, that type of work is very much about. Let me see here. Is my audio still going?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it probably is. Okay. But yeah, it's very much about remixing what's already there. Like, I like the idea of bootlegs, like bootleg.
Oh my god, yes.
Shirts, the bootleg toys, and so a lot of what I do is it's got that energy. Tell me about your stuff, though. Yeah.
You know, my creative practice is all over the place. I went to art school for illustration, and I've sort of found different avenues in the design world afterwards. My own personal work, I think I'm still in the journey of finding where I'm going and what I'm supposed to do with it. You know, like I'm always thinking about painting, but I just always end up kind of drawing instead.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think if you look at my work, it's kind of a lot of different mediums, and my relationship with my own creativity is a little bit chaotic. For example, sometimes I'll make something and I won't look at it again until months later, and then I'll realize that it was something really good. So it's like my self-editing process and my own relationship to my inspiration is a bit it's not fully predictable yet.
Do you ever forget what it is you made?
Yeah, occasionally.
I do that a
Uh,
lot. Yeah.
How much are you working on every day? Are you working on multiple canvases every day?
Yeah, I have about 30 pieces going at one time.
No, really?
Yeah, it's called ADHD.
Have you always worked like that, or have you kind of built up to where you're at?
I, I I always did. I was thinking about it because I started in photography, and so that was an enlarger, and you would print. And so if there was dust on a negative, you would have to, with ink, spot those in. Now, that's a lot to ask from me. So I would tackle this section, go up here. If I had multiple prints, I would rotate them until I was done. And I didn't realize that was part of my ADHD until recently. But yeah. So
Is that room that you were doing in the dark room? Work that you were doing in the dark room?
uh-huh.
That's cool.
Yeah. But so when I started to really do studio work, um, yeah, 30, at least 30 pieces going, maybe more. That doesn't count like sketchbooks and paper and different media. Yeah.
How is your drawing practice? Like, do you have a nice sketchbook, or do you just draw things on newsprint? Are they studies?
I just draw. I don't ever think of much as studies.
Hmm.
Yeah. I um but yeah, I mean there's sketchbooks. I always have a ton of materials and yeah.
Do you share your drawings? Are they on your website? I would like to see your drawings sometime.
I know there's works on paper up there, but I don't know like drawing. I don't think so, I guess. Yeah. I try
Okay,
to
I won't push the issue.
No, I well, let's look.
Yeah, let's look. Let's ramble.
Let's
I'm
see.
so geek to ramble. I want to be your co-host rambling. That's what I
There you
imagine this. I'm just your sidekick in the ramble.
go. All right. I'm down with it. Yeah. Let's see. Works on paper. I guess you can kind of see me drawing these, but I don't know. See, like I said, I don't remember what's up here.
Oh, there we go. There's a charcoal.
Yeah. So
Do you work pretty big when you draw like that? 8 by 9?
right now, so I have a bigger space, but my family has stuff in there. Usually, like I said, there's at least 30 pieces going. And yeah. So
Oh, nice.
those are various sizes. But lately, I've been working smaller because I don't have that space.
I love those, man. I haven't seen any of those. This is the
Okay.
deep archive.
Yeah. Which are you on? My regular Instagram or the baseball one? Because I
Let me. I think I was only following you on the wrestling
Oh,
account
okay. Yeah.
for many years. No. I was only following El Santos baseball, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had different channels.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that to it's worked actually, because I'll get people that like certain parts of my work, and it was a
I feel
tactic.
like I was seeing everything through El Santos baseball though, because I was definitely seeing wrestling and like the ODB
Yeah.
portrait and stuff.
If it, I think my rule, and I break it sometimes, but if it's kind of card related, I'll throw it in there. But then some of the more like paperwork and random, I don't. Sometimes I slip up and I forget. But
You
yeah.
know what I really dig that you do is in your lettering, when your letters start to run out of space and you just stack them or drop them. I've started doing that in my
Yeah.
own work, and it just seems like it makes sense on some level. Like it's not quite a street art idea, although it seems to have something in common with maybe Basquiat or something. I don't know.
Well, no, that um, the very first time I tried to do, it was an album cover. It was Johnny Cash, and I remember sitting there meticulously, just trying to make the lettering right. And then I was like, what am I doing? And I just started to scatter them. And then, and again, it's like, I love bootleg culture. So, I wanted it to feel like, this wasn't an official copy. And it's not, it's completely bootleg.
Do you
So,
know the New Yorker illustrator named Saul Steinberg? Have you heard of him?
no.
Oh, okay. He was a New Yorker cartoonist in the 70s, and he has a cartoon about that or an illustration about that. And I'm gonna send that to you when I find it because it's
Okay.
it's right
That's
on the
awesome.
head as far as that. It's like the
Yeah.
artist has to plan how much space they're going to use, or else they're going to run out, and the whole thing is going to be a waste. Or you can just stack your text like you do wherever it
Yeah.
lands. It's like
I like,
clearly you didn't have enough space for it, but now you do.
well, it'll fit, you know, it's, yeah. I like your lines. They're cool.
Thank you. I'm influenced by people with strong line work. That's what I'm really into.
Hmm. I'm drawn to those artists for sure.
Although I think it's taken a toll on my wrist over the years, and that's why I always think about painting. Just finding a new way to move my whole arm for mark making, So someday soon, hopefully, I'm gonna bust through and do some paintings. I mean, of course, I did some over the years, but I don't have a practice of painting, and
Yeah.
I think that's the next thing for me.
So what are you working in? Like, is it
Well, I want to show you one thing.
okay? Let's
There
see.
was a
We'll get out of here. Stop sharing. That sounds so mean.
so you showed this one on my
Oh
page,
yeah.
which is just a big bird print. So this would have started as a drawing in my sketchbook. Probably can't see it, but um, the line art would have started as a drawing in my sketchbook, and then I go to Office Depot after I scan it and I print it on lamination paper, and then I fill out the colors from behind. So, and this is a way of almost like mechanically separating the colors, and it's very similar to how early animation and golden age animation worked with different cells. But it's also a way that cartoonists work in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and this is kind of one version of how I achieve that analog. look.
Cool.
And then there are other times where I'll take an illustration and digitally color it and stuff like that. So I would say a lot of different combinations of scanning ink work. I don't do a whole lot of purely digital illustration. It's just never really clicked for me, but there are times when I practice in that way.
Yeah. How did it start for you?
I guess as a kid, I've always drawn, but then, so I joined the military and I just practiced art the whole time. And by the end of my enlistment, I was building my portfolio for a art school application. And so I was just using a lot of different mediums, but I think what it comes down to is the most sense of control I have ends up being with a pen, you know. And that's why I say that I don't think I've quite arrived at the final version of what my art making looks like. And I'm okay with that, you know.
I
I
think,
love drawing. I love the idea of being a comic book artist too. And that's one thing that I'm always trying to work my way up towards.
yeah, I think that continuously evolves. You know, it's, I don't know. I never thought about it too much. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah. Because like I said, I started as a photographer and that career was going really well. And then one day I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. And so I don't have, I guess, a commitment to, like, I'm doing this now, but I could start knitting tomorrow.
You're right.
And that'd
That's how
be,
I feel.
yeah, it'd be okay. It, because in the end, it's all expression, you know, even making videos and things, the creativity. I don't know. It it all interests me. So
Can I direct your attention to a couple more works on my website
yeah, for sure. Let's
on your
go.
sharing screen? Just two more
Let's
different kind of modes that I've worked in that I think I'd like to tell about.
let's get back into it.
Also, I wore this shirt. I thought it was somewhat relevant.
Nice.
I don't get a
Bang
whole lot of
bang.
opportunities to wear this shirt, but he was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up.
Have you read his books?
No, I haven't.
Oh man. The first one is great because initially he'll describe the process of, hey Mick, you're gonna write a book. It's great. All right. Let's see. Where should I go?
Go to the art tab and then go to the P section. There's two collections in there I'd like to show you.
The piece.
Okay, go up into that floral print a couple rows back up. It's kind of magenta and yeah, the
This
pattern
one?
section. I want to show you that.
Okay.
This was a way that these are more drawings, but if you go towards the bottom, there are works that I made through collage with really precise cutting and color palettes. Yep, keep going. There we
Okay.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
Those are cool.
works, um, these are all relatively small, like for example, maybe around 5 by 5 inches, something like that. But I sort of developed this way of being able to collage a lot of different types of papers and stuff and make these color palettes that I was really satisfied with. And cutting itself became one of the ways I was making stuff for a while. You know, Matisse did that towards the end of his career too, I guess.
Yeah. I love Matisse.
Yeah. And I
That's
haven't really returned to this type of making. I was doing this in maybe 2017, 2018. But like I said, it's one of those things where if the feeling takes me, I might just return back to that because
Sure.
I like the tangibility of making something that could actually be displayed or sold. You know,
So do you exhibit or?
I've done a little bit of this and that here and there, but like I said, I'm still a work in progress in terms of what do I want to show. You know, what do I want to show the world as a collection of work, and I don't care if it takes me another 5 years. You know, because it's like when I feel like when you know you're an artist, you know that it's a lifelong thing. So I'm not really in a rush to finalize my medium.
No, that's very true. I don't think um, there's a lot of people that don't realize that.
What do you mean?
That, if you're in the game, it's your lifetime. So what is the rush? Because it's from the time you started to really the time you're out. So just create. Well, that's how I view it. Yeah. Oops. What did I do? Okay. Yeah. So tell me about art school. I'm very
So I was
curious
in,
because
yeah,
you're not a bootleg artist. Like,
arguably, I don't know if I absorbed too much of what they taught me in art school.
yeah.
Uh, no, I chose to go to art college in Portland, Oregon. Um, and I think I was fairly certain I wanted to study illustration, and that's where I stayed at, even though the world of illustration, contemporary illustration, the type of work looks very different from what I do.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite illustrator artists are people that worked over 50 years ago. Um, but Portland's a cool city because there's a lot going on. And my thesis mentor, professor, he ended up being somebody that connected me to the design world. And there's a lot of footwear design in Portland, Oregon. So I eventually kind of got into that world of sneaker design. And that work is on my page too if you want to check it out, but it's not
Yeah. Let's see.
art per se,
No,
prescriptive
sure it
work.
is.
This is an animation I did here.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go back.
That top right one, that's where you want to go.
This one?
Yeah, click this collection. This will be all the work that I did on sneakers at Nike. And this
Wow.
work is called color design work. And when you're a color designer, you're really dealing with the surface of the sneaker. And a lot of times you'll deal with the materials as well, but it's basically assigning which colors go to where.
Nice. So how long have you been? Are you still there? Like at Nike?
No, I did. This was from a contract I did in 2019 through 2020.
Okay. These are awesome.
Thanks. There's a lot of them are. I worked across different genders and ages too. So some of these are kids' shoes and women's shoes. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
It's definitely helped me to get some other design work in the years afterwards too.
That's awesome. So are you mainly contract? Like,
At the moment, yes, but and I might keep saying this throughout the ramble is that my art design practice altogether, it's not really constituting a big income stream for me, but I am currently doing some motion graphics and After Effects through a company right now.
Yeah.
Although it's not creative work, it's not, it's not a collab or anything. And that's the thing with Nike, is that when you work as a full-time employee on sneakers, um, you're not getting to be the artist behind it. You're executing palettes for commercial setting for the sneakers. You don't get credit for being the color designer on individual sneakers at Nike. But
Yeah.
that's a whole world that we don't have to go into. But I did want to show off some sneakers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, that was fun for you, but were there parts of it that were not fun?
Well, there are elements to that type of work that are just completely prescriptive. For example, a brief for a sneaker, it might be them saying, okay, here's a kid's Air Max 90 that we need all red. The upper, the midsole, the outsole, all red. There's not a whole lot of creativity in that. You're just going into Illustrator and you're painting a sneaker red, And then there are other projects that you get where there's a much more higher level of artistic freedom, design freedom, and then in those situations you can be more creative. And I mostly didn't get that type of work, but the overall experience at Nike was great, very satisfying. It was hard work. I
Yeah.
think I developed a tick in my eye temporarily, a twitch in my eye.
Oh, wow. I like this. My kids are starting to do animation like this, which is kind of cool because they're so little.
How are they doing it? They got an iPad or something?
Yeah, they all have iPads, and then I put InShot on theirs because they were making films that they still do, and then they've started to draw in there, and it's cool.
Yeah, I love looking back to when I was a kid and trying to tap into that feeling of creativity. I
Yeah.
don't know how old you are exactly. I'm guessing you're a little older than I am, but I was born in 1988, and lately I've been remembering. Do you remember the Talk Boy from Home Alone?
No.
In the movie Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin had this little recorder that he would make notes in and stuff, and he could change people's voices, and there was a toy version of that as a kid that I had, and it was just so much fun, being a kid and just being so connected to your own fun that you have from creating things.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I think about that a lot with them. Just when you're a kid, and all of that develops. Like I definitely see my influence, and then I'm scared. Yeah.
Do they
I'm
seem like they've got the creative genes?
See, all I think creativity is doing it. Anybody that says they can't, that's not true. They haven't tried, but they definitely have the willingness to try and experiment. And yeah, they make cool stuff. I love it. Yeah. But that's the cool thing about kids. There isn't apprehension, and there's just this freedom to make stuff. It's very inspiring. So I go back to that well a lot. I'll hang out with them, and yeah, my stuff gets better. So
Wow, that's so cool.
it is. It's a good feeling.
I
Yeah.
caught one of your rambles a couple weeks ago. I'm always watching your rambles, man.
Oh, well,
Seriously.
cool, man.
If you always get a thumbs up within an hour that you post, and that's me on YouTube. But I remember one night you were talking about browsing for, I think, cards on eBay,
Mhm.
and you were talking about how the sense of randomness is almost like inspiration itself to you, like not knowing what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love knowing how to tap in to the thing, the era that gets you going, you know, and sometimes it's longer periods for me to discover the next thing to tap into, but I totally get what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way about um, thrifting. I've been I've been going to the Goodwill outlet, and pretty much there's bins of stuff, and people elbow and fight to get to the stuff. I don't really partake. I'm just looking through piles of randomness, different eras, different histories, different media, different graphics. Like anything will catch my attention. It could be vintage blow dryers, just the way they're made, the logos. Um, so yeah, I think your portfolio is cool because I
Thank you
feel
so
feel like
much.
you're drawing from different eras, different just different things, and that's cool. But,
That's an honor
but yeah,
coming from you, El Santo.
oh man, yeah, it's good stuff.
Hey, I gotta know, what is that? What is that bright green painting that appears above your left shoulder? I gotta know the story on that because I'm always looking at
That
that.
that one's actually my mom made that, and
Really?
yeah, she started. She doesn't do it anymore. I need to push her to make some more. But she started painting, and then she was working on that one. And then she started to put other stuff on it. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, stop. Like, it's good. And it's called The Lonely Friend. And I don't know. I love it. Yeah.
Was she using acrylic paint
Mhm.
for that? Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. But yeah, and she really liked it. I need to get her back to it. So, but
Yeah, that's the
she was a
sweetest thing.
oh yeah. She was definitely I blame her. She didn't paint. She said she always wanted to when she was little, but didn't. And then, you know, but my early memories are her having me like make stuff with construction paper and yeah. So
Do you remember as a kid? I don't know if you remember, but in preschool they would give you these like little plastic scissors. Do you remember those?
yeah,
The non-metal scissors, and they're like that big.
yeah. The they were always duotone.
Yeah, they're always dull.
Yeah. Yeah, they were horrible, but they look cool. That goes back to those designs. It's just the thought process of making anything really.
I would be surprised if they still made those, and I would be surprised if anyone saved those for the flea market. Nobody was having fun with those scissors back then, man.
Yeah. My mom, it's funny. So the boxes in my studio space are all things from when they moved closer to me. So I became public storage. But I've been opening up those boxes, and I bet there's a pair of those scissors in one of them.
Are you saying that your childhood art materials are preserved in a box somewhere?
Probably, probably, yeah.
Dude,
She archived, but I don't know. Stuff gets lost or damaged, and so I never know. But yeah, I've opened up a few boxes. It's like, whoa, yeah,
I remember being very conscious of the art that I was making as a kid, and periodically I would purge it. I would be like, okay, I'm starting a new collection of work. My old work is done. And I would
Mhm.
think about it, I was like, what if someone saw this? Like my process work,
That made
what
you
le-
nervous?
no, I was just aware of it. Like eventually I was making little portfolios of work. It was just, I don't know, it's just funny. Funny to
Yeah.
think when you look back, you have a threshold on your own work. Like, okay, I can't show this to anyone, but this is something I'm willing to show someone. I don't know how that threshold is determined. But I do have a question sort of stemming off of that for you.
Yeah.
You went from photography, you were working professionally photographer
Uh-huh.
to painting. Did you had you painted before then? Was it a gradual shift or did you just jump into painting from photography?
I had always drawn, you know, nothing major, but that was always there. In school we had watercolors, but no, not paint. Um, it was I collaborated with a painter, and I'll always remember she just shoved materials into my hands, and then it's just like okay, and then I was hooked. Like I understood, whereas I'd always seen painting as like this meticulous, like calm, serene thing. But at that time in my life, things were not calm or serene, and it was very chaotic. And this just um, gave me a nice outlet for that. Yeah, yeah. It's because I think I'd started in a dark room, and I was becoming a desk man. We'd have the shoots; those were cool. But then I'd have to come and do this part of it, and it wasn't what I signed up for. Yeah. So, but but yeah,
Did you take any kind of classes for photography, and then did you take any kind of classes for art making, like painting or anything like that?
yeah, photography. They didn't have a degree where I went, but there was the Glassell School of Art in Houston.
Mm.
So I went through the whole photography program. The year I was graduating, they started to offer a degree. I would have I would have done that, but then yeah, if I could retroactively take those credits, I would have had a photography major. So, but that was a big influence because every semester you'd get a free pass to the museum, and so I'd spend my time in the dark room, and then I'd go to that museum, and I'd just look at everything. Like,
That's great.
yeah, and that. So I don't know. And then when I would exhibit photography, it was always with painters. But the photography crowd, they didn't get, they didn't get me, but painters did, and so it just made sense. It clicked when I started throwing paint down, and yeah, and even some friends that one mentor that I had photographed his stuff for years, and I didn't even realize what was going on, but every time I would do that, I'd just sit there and ask him questions, and yeah, and he's got a master's in it. And that was quite the education. But and then once I did start painting, it was very raw, of course. And then I wanted to paint people because I was doing animals and I was doing people, but it was just however I could imagine it. So there was this classical painter, and I went to her and studied a bit, and then I got to a certain point, and then I was like, okay, that's enough. That's about what I want to absorb. And then I went, I guess it's a marriage of what I got there and what I came in with. So, and then
Was
what's
that the same
evolving.
friend?
Which one?
Was that the same friend who shoved the materials into your hand and told you to
No,
paint?
see, she, her name's Shelly. She changed names now. I guess Beard. But she still works more figurative, abstract type stuff. And yeah, if you look at all these people, you can see their fingerprint in what I do, because I learned a lot watching her too. And yeah,
These are Houston folks?
yeah, that's where I was for a long time. So,
Nice. Would you ever do a program where you show yourself painting?
like
A
what do you mean?
live studio feed of yourself painting or something like that. I don't know. Just a
You
thought.
know what? Yeah, I've wanted to do a live stream. I got some extenders because in my back room, the internet doesn't hit. So that's the only thing that's stopping that. I don't know that I wouldn't make it like a course, but yeah, I've been wanting to stream. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, you should definitely do a stream where you paint. I know probably have to set it up in a weird way, cameras on a canvas or something, but that would be really cool.
Yeah. All I need is the internet to hit right back there. As we can see, it's even bad in here. Yeah. But yeah, I like all that live stuff. Like I like doing these live. I think it's weird adrenaline. At first, like it makes you nervous because like everyone's seeing your mistakes, but then it's like, so what? Like, yeah, it's like that with even time lapses. I remember the first time I did those. It's like I kept arguing with myself that like, oh, they're watching you, and then the other voice was like, yeah, so what? Like roll with it. And I think that process, there's a lot to learn from it, because yeah, actually a lot of what I encounter with people that are struggling with what they're doing is they're getting in their own way. It's those inner voices. Like you have to listen to the stronger creative ones, because they always know best.
Yeah, that's really well put. That's a massive battle that
Yeah,
you have in
I
your
mean,
head. You can call it. There's a lot of different ways to call it, but it really just is you not being aligned with your own creative impulse on some level or something.
everyone has it. Yeah, like I constantly, I have so many arguments. Yeah. But that reminds me of I think it was Neil Brennan, the comic.
Comedian.
Mhm. He he was talking about comics. He said, let's be honest, we're all on the spectrum. I was like, huh. I had an ex-girlfriend that said there's a one letter difference between autistic and artistic. And yeah, it's like, well, you're correct. That is interesting. So yeah,
Do you do you watch any? Do you watch TV a lot?
I don't get to.
Yeah.
I like it, but yeah, but the most I do is mainly right before I go to bed. I have trouble falling asleep, but I'll watch TikTok
Yeah.
and I'll go, this is ridiculous. My son is running around the background. Go to sleep.
He's rambling.
Ah, like I do these in the middle of the night too.
Hey, that's
Ah,
okay. My cat's running around too. She's climbing on the bookshelf and doing the things that are bad
yeah,
intentionally.
I actually had stopped doing these for a while because he is running around, but it's not too bad. But it's absurd, and I want to go gripe at him, but will not do that. But yeah, I because I did like 25, like I was just talking to other artists, and then I just that got so stressful. But they were smaller. I guess they're big. They're still annoying, but I still love them.
You mean it was stressful doing the dual rambles because your
Yeah.
kids would inevitably wake up?
Well,
Be
they
up.
would. It wasn't just waking up. It's like these screams, and then I think at some point I just wanted to get back to it, so I started talking to myself really, and then I was still having background issues, and again, those voices that you fight with. I was like, this is just your reality, and you should just record. It's
Yeah.
because it's good for it, and it is. It's good for me, and other people told me they appreciate it, and I'm like, this sounds good. So
How long did you
yeah,
take a break for?
I don't remember, but it was. I mean, I would do like my daily stuff where I would show work, but then, and I was only doing that because I was like, I don't know, I always feel the need to like supplement or not. I don't know. I like giving dimension to the work. It's just I think about growing up pre-internet, and if I like anything really, a band, an artist, I would research. I'd find articles. I would find anything. If I could find video cassette of someone talking, I would soak that in. And it's so nice that we are so we have so many ways to do that now. And so that was part of wanting to do that. And still, it's like yeah.
to,
And then
to me, painters showing their process whatever way is invaluable to me. There's
yeah.
not many who do it, and of those who do it, do I like all their work? It's like I like your work, and I like this component of your video making. And I think it sort of rounds out your creative practice because then it gives you a chance to reflect on what you've done. And it sounds like you do these at the end of the day, at the end of
Yeah.
your studio shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, that's the other thing is it keeps the ball moving because I am constantly reflecting, and it helps bring about whatever's next, you know? Yeah.
I didn't realize you actually do these live.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
that,
I know now. I know that you did them live, but when I started rewatching your new videos this year, they were popping up for me on YouTube, and I would just
Mhm.
watch them on YouTube. And I noticed sometimes you'd be like, I don't know if I'm having a mic issue right now. And I was just thinking, I was like, well, if he's having a mic issue, he'll find out later and he'll just re-record everything. And then I caught you live on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he records these and then he posts the results, and that
Yeah.
adds a whole nother layer of not pressure, but a type of tension to it.
Well, yeah, there's that nerves thing, but for me also, I have 3 kids, full-time father, full-time artist. Um, Time management is so critical. And so the other part of like just doing any of this content thing, it's like I started thinking about it this year more. It's like you've got to find a way to make this easier. And so like StreamYard's nice because you record these, you can edit in app, and then you have a product. Like, and you have these cool, I've loved like the dual rambles. I've loved snipping the conversation and then blasting those out. And it's what I reference comedy a lot. It's what comedians have done. And look how well they're doing. I want,
Yeah, that's the modern way of people creating content. It's like you're editing later, something
yeah,
like that.
but I want that for artists, you know? I want, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool if we were doing as well as those comics. Man. So that's the dream.
Well, for what it's worth, I think I probably encountered your work through like an advertisement on Instagram. Do you
Uh-huh.
advertise maybe?
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I when artists are advertised to me in my little algorithm,
Mhm.
99% of the time I don't care for what I'm seeing. You know, it just is what it is. I have specific taste in art, but like
Yeah.
it worked for you. So I think
Well,
your plan of how you promote yourself or present yourself, it works for me.
yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that type of thing, it's like I've heard that a lot. People don't want to post, especially like Facebook users. They don't want to tire their friend. I'm like, you're not posting for them. And if they have that much of a problem with it, they can unfriend you and they can call you and you can go get coffee. That's okay because you're trying to do this thing and you put it out there however you can. And what you said is a good example. You can blast that out there. And there's a bunch of people that will maybe have the same reaction, but you're after that person that will dig what you're doing and support you in some way, either collaboration, client, just somebody who's will get on the frequency. Instagram at the moment is the only one I've advertised on. I've tried a few like Facebook ones, but I don't get it as much. I like Instagram because as far as like the still image, I think it still works for visual artists. So,
Yeah, it
so yeah, I
seems to
don't know.
me Instagram seems to be a place where the creative networking still happens in a meaningful way.
I think so because I hear a lot of Instagram's dead, but I don't know what they're talking about. I guess maybe organically, yeah, it'll just your stuff will just circulate, and that's why I do put ads out. So
I think for the moment, for people who work in our visual art realm, it's going to work as an extension of the portfolio or an extension of showing your process. You know.
well, we in a way get to be our own biographers. How cool is that? Like, yeah.
How much time we got? I
So,
got some more questions for you.
no, man, we can go till you say quit.
Okay. I
This
want to
is
know.
this is supposed to be my quiet time, but my son is demonstrating that that's not always the case.
I want to know kind
Go
of
ahead.
because you have all these influences in your work. I mean, just off the top of my head, the sports world. It seems like you're into hip hop and wrestling, and these kind of vintage, not vintage things, but they're specific kind of. At one time, they were underground culture. What were you absorbing growing up? You know, were you watching TV as a kid? Did you watch cartoons,
Yeah,
wrestling?
of course wrestling. I would stay up because I didn't see that till I moved to Texas, and it came on late at night, and my parents wanted me to go to sleep, but I had to watch it.
History's
And
repeating itself.
yeah, yeah, and but and my dad would say it's fake, and I remember being 5 and thinking like, is this like, are you trying to give me news? You mean I can't drop you on your head and you'll stand back up? I can't swing you against a rope and then you'll bounce back to me so that I can punch you in the face. I'm like, I know it's a cartoon, but like we're using people. And again, it goes back to bootleg things. That's bootleg fighting. Now it's choreographed, they do get hurt,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not, you know, a death match. Like, and if it is, it's a controlled one. It's
That's so funny to me because usually the parent has to debate with themselves when they're going to tell their kids that Santa and the Easter Bunny aren't
oh,
real. But your
not my
dad,
dad.
as soon as he knew you could talk and watch wrestling, he told you the news. It's not real. And you were like,
He,
on what level is it not real?
oh man, my dad. I love him, but I had to I had to work through a lot. Yeah. but, but yeah, no, I watched wrestling. So TV was we did not have cable, so it was whatever's on syndication. I hear
Yeah.
I hear Conan O'Brien talk about it. How so that type of TV, you're watching movies from like the 50s or even earlier, like um and cartoons. And so yeah, it and I don't know, it was a different weird culture. And then coming into like teenage years, my music was always important. And yeah, I
What wrestlers were you watching when you were watching it on TV at night? Like what organization was it and stuff?
well, when I moved here, there was world class championship wrestling. I would catch that in Houston, which that's out here where I am now, or this was the region. So that was the Von Erichs. But the missing link was this green face wrestler who would, his head was his weapon. He would grab his hair and, yeah, I just love the absurdity of it.
Wait, hold on.
And
Pause for a second. This
yeah,
wrestling you were watching out there, was it during the time that you were I know it was regional. Does that mean you were kind of isolated from what McMahon was doing? Was it before that the takeover of WWF and WCW?
Well, that was the first like wrestling, so that was early '80s. So you asked how old? I'm 48. So um, it wasn't until like '86 that I started seeing WWF. That was like the early Hogan stuff, and they had
Yeah.
a cartoon, and that was cool. But I liked the grittiness of the other stuff, and
Was the
but
other stuff was the other stuff like lower production value, black and white? Did they bleed on it?
it was just more. It's interesting, like the eras, because these guys were trying to be more like Howard Cosell, and talking about it like, yeah, this is a competitive sport and blah blah blah. Whereas what McMahon brought was a lot more cartoonish. Like that was the first time you really got a true color commentator, like Jesse Ventura, who would root for the bad guy, and and then he would argue with whoever was opposite. So that began there, I think, and that was different and that was fun. But I liked that they were presenting it as more of a reality, and really even the way they choreographed things, they were making it look as real as they could. Whereas it evolved to what we have today, where it's pretty much like, here's my script, hold it, and I'll read it now. And so it's just different now. But I don't know, I appreciate it all.
So you're saying that the wrestler with the green head as a weapon was less gimmicky to you?
Oh, um well, that started to show signs of that cartoon era. It's just that McMahon put it more on a highlight, whereas those commentators would try to act like they were seriously talking about this, like
Yeah.
like, oh man, this guy, what is wrong with him? But yeah, no, it was the hyperbole of wrestling in general has always been interesting. Yeah, and then but yeah, that my early I would get in trouble in class for drawing wrestlers and cartoons and anything but what I was supposed to be learning. And really, I was
What?
just go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, really, I was just bored. Like, it's like, okay, like I didn't. There we go. I'm back.
Santo, come in.
I'm back.
I was gonna ask you what kind of cartoons were you watching, and what kind of comic strips, newspaper comics were you looking at, or comic books, if any?
Yeah, um, cartoons like Saturday morning. Saturday mornings were. Well, I remember that wrestling cartoon, but I think in general, what played back then was a lot of Bugs Bunny, and um, I was at the mercy of whatever was on the basic channels. Like after school, there was this cartoon called Heathcliff, and that's
Uh
a
huh.
comic book. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
comic strips in the newspaper were. I liked Beetle Bailey,
yeah. That's a good one.
the Circus Family. Is that what they're called, or the Family
I I,
Circus?
I remember the name Beetle Bailey
Yeah,
as the name of the comic.
I read those a lot, and I like the drawing, and then but I liked Hanna Barbera stuff because there were so many characters, and they were so like visibly colorful.
Like
You know?
Magilla Gorilla. Were you aware that you were watching 70s reruns? Or
No,
was it just
no.
cartoons to you?
Yeah, it was just cartoons. This is what was on. Fat Albert was still, I'd still catch that. But yeah, I had no idea these were older until, yeah, I was older. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Were you catching the work of Sid and Marty Krofft? They did Land of the
Oh my
Lost and
God.
Raven and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Those would come on after Saturday Night Live, which I loved Saturday Night Live. So there was, or right before, I think, right before or after. I'm trying to remember.
Do you think
But
that was because no, that wasn't more of an adult crowd. That's just maybe that was just mainstream puppet television entertainment at that time and everyone wanted to watch it.
it didn't have a long run. I remember because I was sad when they stopped showing it. But
Which one? They did a whole bunch. They did Lidsville, they did HR Puffin stuff.
see, I didn't see any of that. I saw the one that was, I guess, DC based because there was a lot of presidents and political stuff. Yeah, you'd like see a Nixon puppet. It was great.
They gave you the most strictly educational type ones for free.
I guess you get what you pay for. Yeah, like I said,
Were you able
oh yeah, go ahead.
were you able to catch Pee Wee Herman? Is that where you got into Pee Wee?
Oh my God, yeah. So he came on Saturday mornings, and I was just hooked looking at all the background stuff, which turns out was Wayne White,
Wayne White.
and who I love his work. And that's funny. He's on my Facebook feed, and the only time he's interacted with me was do you remember when everyone was posting their AI portraits? It was a little while.
A couple years ago, maybe.
Mhm.
Vaguely, not especially, not particularly.
So I was like, So I put my picture through. I was like, wow, these are pretty neat. And I posted them. And he put soul stealing garbage in all caps, I think. It's like, oh wow. It pissed Wayne White off.
You caught him on a bad day.
I don't know. I've
He had
never
had enough
interacted.
of it.
I've never interacted with them otherwise. Like, oh, okay, yes, sir. I'm like, maybe. I'm like, it's just. Yeah. I don't know. That was a little bit of a bummer. It's like, oh well. I still love his work.
How do you think he was in? How do you think you were in his feed? Had he followed you based on him being a fan of your work?
No, I don't
Do you think
think
that's
so.
how it happened?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I don't put too much thought into Facebook. So I probably friended him. I know who he is. So
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
Yeah, the Facebook infrastructure has changed a lot of times over the years in terms of pages and friends and likes, and I don't do it anymore.
Well, yeah, as far as my main Facebook, I would never have been there in the first place if it weren't for promoting my artwork. And it was my sister that said, hey, this is a good place to. I'm not terribly tapped into any of it. That's what I like about. I've got a new drop coming, but when I'm on the live stream, I've been popping up people's feeds that come on if they're artists, and that'll be a new segment. But yeah, through my day, I don't get a lot of time to actually just consume artwork the way I would like to. So I thought that would be cool. Yeah, and that is how I've been looking at people's stuff more, because I see it here and there, but it's cool, especially people that you know already. It's cool to see what they've been working on, and then yeah, because it's all very inspiring, you know. And then to get to talk to somebody like because you see the work, and then yeah, I'm still staring at your work, but yeah, it's cool.
One of the things that I've been getting a lot of joy from is basically the public access television, what the version of that still happens today, which is called free to air television.
So it's an actual channel?
No, it's like if you get a TV nowadays and you don't have any streaming connected to it, you don't have Hulu and you're not paying for Pluto or whatever, you, as long as you have an internet connection, you can access kind of the version of free cable. And it's a lot of channels. For example, there's a Bob Ross channel where it plays Bob Ross over and over and over again.
Huh.
There's a MLB Great Games channel where you can catch up, old games. So it's those kind of networks. They're not
It
the
sounds
types of channels
awesome.
that people would pay for. They're the types of
Yeah.
channels that people like you and I, who like would get a kick out of catching an old Three Stooges movie in full or something. And that's a place that I've been getting inspiration from, just because if you want to, you can be as random as you want about it. You're like, because there's movie channels that just play cult movies. There's movie channels that just play westerns, and to me, that's kind of where I've been retreating to at night, to tap into a different world. There's a channel that only plays Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Nice. Interesting. I have to look into that.
Well, you have TV, right? I'm assuming you have TV.
Yes, I have some. It's just never quiet here.
Yeah.
Like, and this is a good example of it.
Hey, for what it's worth, it's filtering out a lot of the noise that I think you're probably
okay, good.
distracted by.
It's just, I think the main thing is like my attention will go that way, and I hate that because at this point of day or night, I'm not medicated, so so things become more of a struggle, and I guess that's why studio time makes sense, because it slows down all of that. And and he's loving this. Yeah. What did you watch growing up?
So Cartoon Network was already a thing in the 90s
Man.
growing up, so I was able to catch. And Cartoon Network in those days, they did just play reruns of Hanna-Barbera. And then in the mid 90s, Cartoon Network started creating their own content. And some of it was very groundbreaking. Well, all of it was groundbreaking. But one of the things they did was Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh man.
And that was a big show for me growing up. Just they were doing so many different things that were ahead of its time. And then a few years later, you started getting shows like Dexter's Lab and the original, Cartoon Network type stuff. But on top of that, I have memories of much older things on TV. Like they used to play Garfield on TV all the time. That wasn't old for me, but you remember they used to play the Garfield cartoon, and I didn't really like it, but I still watched it. And my parents let me watch MTV,
Nice.
for whatever reason. I got to see the early music videos, and Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that. So I got to see it all.
Yeah.
I was in the right place at the right time to absorb it all. Did one of the youngins kick over the whole computer?
I probably. My God.
There we go.
Yeah, I'd have to. I don't know.
You might have to ground them for this.
Yeah, the problem is they live here. That's what doesn't make sense about grounding. Grounding should be like send them somewhere else.
Send them to military school.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my gosh. But no, I don't know what that was. He might have kicked the modem or something. That's great.
The
But
modem.
no, so Cartoon Network, Harvey. But no, Harvey Birdman. Did you ever watch that?
Do you mean the Adult Swim cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Colbert did a voice on there. I
Oh
think.
my God.
Yeah.
The ending to that.
You mean the ending to the series?
Yeah.
I was a little bit more invested in C Lab 2020, but all that stuff was kind of
Those are good too.
whirling around. You know, Space Ghost Coast to Coast was kind of developed in the early 90s. Adult Swim was more around like 2000, 2001, but Space Ghost Coast to Coast was sort of the first thing that team created. And all
Yeah.
those other cartoons were created in a similar template or spirit of it.
Yeah. See, like I said, I didn't have cable. You were talking about MTV, and so to see that, I would have friends that had cable, and I still have those tapes, but they would record. They would just leave it on record, and then I'd get these tapes, and that's how I got to see some MTV. But which is, I don't know, kind of silly when I think back to it. But
Did you ever catch like Toonami and Dragon Ball Z and stuff? Because that would have been before, a little bit before Adult Swim. Toonami had started.
No, trying to think, it wasn't like 2004, 5, probably 2005. I first saw cable. I was out of college, and yeah. But but like Johnny Bravo was on, Dexter. I still say laboratory.
That's how he says it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading these books to my kids, and they keep using the word laboratory, and they keep saying laboratory. I'm like, oh man, like that's fine. So maybe they'll say it that way. All right. I think the boy is driving me insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should end this conversation now, and then maybe we can do this again and pick up where we left off, because I think we could ramble for another hour.
Dude, I'm down. So let me know. Give me another a date. We'll come back on and shoot it. Cause yeah, man, I dig it. It's and frankly, it's weird talking to myself. But yeah.
Well, as a big fan, please don't stop making videos. You know.
Well, man, thank you. I debated on it, like, because I was doing the things where showing what I'm working on. That makes sense. And then I was like, I want to bring back guests, but it was also kind of, because sometimes you'll schedule, somebody has to cancel or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to do them weekly, and I realized putting a lot of pressure on myself, and it's not something that's always within my control. So I was like, what if you just start talking to yourself? And then I was like, I was doing those weekly, And then I would think of stuff during the week, but then I'd forget it. And I don't ever really want to read a script, Like I just want the thoughts to be free flowing, because I guess that's what I'm drawn to when I consume, There was somebody analyzing somebody who did well with their content. And what they said is he speaks in sound bites. Once he said that, it kind of really annoyed me. He's right. I'm like, I do not want to speak in soundbite, even though, yeah.
I think there will always be an audience for people with the attention span to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And as an example, I would say that as a big boxing fan, if I miss a match, I don't really care to see a highlight reel version of it. I would much rather watch the whole thing, because that's just the way I am. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm okay watching the snippet TikTok edited versions of things, but there are many times and places where I want to hear the whole 20-minute ramble, or I want to watch the match from start to beginning, even the so-called boring moments.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I feel that. Yeah. True.
All right, it's been an honor, Sergio. If you
Hey,
see
man.
this guy,
Yeah.
contact the sheriff. I like Dude Love.
Oh man, I need to do a Dude Love. That's
You need to
that'll
get
go on
Mick.
the
You need
list.
to get Mick on a Dual Ramble. I bet you could
Oh
track him
man,
down.
that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'll work on that. All right, sir. Let's hey, hang on after the jump here if you can.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can say Bebop out if you want to. If you
let's do it.
let me do it. Ready?
I'm ready.
Bebop out.
Bebop.